Hello, guys. This is Pete from Gamers Paradise. I'm trying something new. My wife didn't want to be in the video today, and the topic I want to talk more on, and I've talked before about, is more or less being content with what you have. I've talked with that from the gaming side of things, and I want to show you a couple of examples as to why, and right off the bat, you can hear the mini SNES in the background. I'm trying something new. I don't have the resources to make a good video for this, so I apologize for the lighting that you're about to witness. I have a couple of examples from Squaresoft, as they were known back in the 90s. They're now known as Square Enix, or as some in the YouTube field call them Squeenix, because of their business practices. Primarily, one of the reasons is Kingdom Hearts, which recently had a new installment. And I have at least one game to show you why being content with what you have. For example, you can play a game when you're an adult or a child. When you start playing in games, most of us start as children. And most of us, some of us anymore, started with either a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64 and moved from there. With those games, you can go out of those games and go back into them and be drawn right back into the story and be content playing because it's a wonderful game. However, with games that just go into the crazy factor and the I don't know how to explain it. Like really out there storyline that you really need a dictionary or an encyclopedia to go through, i.e. Kingdom Hearts, you lose sight of that. And for me, I'm not going to get a PS4 or an Xbox One just to pick up Kingdom Hearts 3 because I don't think it's necessary. The awe factor for me with those games, because of how convoluted, that's the word I was looking for, how convoluted the storyline and characters have become, I don't want to get involved with that anymore. I like the first game, I like the second game, Chain of Memories was awesome, Birth by Sleep, those are really the only games you need. The rest of it pretty much explains itself. But as I was saying, I have a couple of examples here with Final Fantasy III and Secret of Mana. I'm going to play Final Fantasy III. Actually, I'll start with Secret of Mana, just to show you more of the idea, the gameplay style that started with with their idea for Kingdom Hearts. And I'm going to name myself Bob, just for a rough example. I did this with all my games back then. Just name my character something new. I know he has a name, and people, oh yeah, his name is this. Well, if he had a name, then why not have the name? You know? And he's going to tell you a story in a backline, and he's going to throw you into the game. You're starting right here, and it's showing a game. Again, I really apologize for the lighting. I don't have the resources to make this work right, but you know, there we go. Now it's starting, getting into the whole thing. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of that and go into the game I've started. There we go. There you go. That's kind of how Kingdom Hearts plays. Kind of like that. Where it's basically, you don't have a turn-based game to play. You can just attack the enemy as you see fit. You know? And it's really fun to get into, explore. Yeah, there's sprites and hard to play, and you know, it's an acquired taste for most of us. But to those who grew up with something like this, it's timeless. You can go back to, and you can play, and you can enjoy anytime you want. Um, Here's another example I'm going to get into. Here's a more traditional based one that you know, you might know that they did. Really beautiful game. It's fun to play. Um, it's, you know, I always go back to this, playing Mario. It's more pre-rendered graphics and more well done. It's Mario RPG. It's one of my personal favorites. Let's just make a new game. And again, I'm going to be Bob. Just because I can. And maybe one of these days I'm going to clear the thing and start a new game. Who knows? But this is just to show you how the game starts. You know. Of course, Bowser captures Princess. But they did this game with Squaresoft. And it was a beautiful game. They did a good, beautiful job. There's Mario, gonna jump into the scene. He starts in his castle, obviously. Well, not obviously, because this is an entire... At this time, this was a new concept to start the game in the castle where the Peach was captured. Most games followed suit after that, but this is one of the first ones that introduced us to starting in the castle, or fighting Bowser. Mario Odyssey, you start on Bowser's ship, and you play the game that way. And one of the other things that Square Enix is known for, that they did a good job with, was Octopath Traveler. And it's loosely based off of, here's some, you know, footage there, you know, Mario's just going through. This is a turn-based RPG. And that's kind of what I wanted to show you. And, but Octopath Traveler got its idea. It looks, to me, reminiscent of Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy III that you're more familiar with. Oh, good grief. Let's do this again. There. We're going to go in, play Final Fantasy III for a little bit. But to me, like I said, these games are timeless. And I'm content going and playing these games. I don't need to hack my system to get the whole complete SNES library. I'm 5 years shy of 30, or 40, I mean. I'm not going to go recapture the latest and greatest games of my past. Yes, I am a little nostalgic, and I like playing these games for reasons I've explained before in my video. But it's because I have PTSD. And for me, I need to keep my mind as active as possible. And playing video games is the best way of how to do that. And like I said before, it's time-based, from the beginning of October to the end of September. Well, these games, you know, remind me of my childhood, before my life got screwed up, like I've said before. and it's starting and it's going through. But my point in bringing all these games up is I can go through and I can play all of these games and have just as much fun now as I did when I was a little kid playing these games. I'm not going to get Kingdom Hearts 3 with the latest and greatest because, like I said, because of the tangled, convoluted mess that Square Enix has made, I have no joy for playing Kingdom Hearts. Do I want to play it? Yeah, part of me still wants to play it. But, as I've brought up, there's games you can bring up, or you can play the rest of your life and you can still have fun, and you can still enjoy playing them. But there's other games you just need to hang up and just, do your thing. Part of that is, like I said, being content, and the part of it is, even in the Bible, a sign of maturing and growing up is becoming an adult. In the Bible, when I was a child, I thought like a child, behaved like a child, acted like a child, did things that children would do. But when I became a man, I put away with my childish things. And gaming, in a lot of ways, is like that. There's games you cling to and you play, like I'm playing right now, Konami, Castlevania. And I've played this game several times. And I have just as much fun playing even the little bit that I'm playing now, even though I have a save file on here that I'm pretty much close to the game, but I'm having just as much fun playing the beginning of this as I did all throughout my journey in this. I just mostly play the beginning parts of this game because my favorite theme song is like the first couple of levels, the Simon Belmont's theme. It's really catchy, really motivating, and it was really awesome and almost like a dream fulfillment when Simon Belmont was welcomed into Smash Ultimate for the Switch. It is beautiful. It is just absolutely stunning, and, it's really good. And you can go back to these games, and you can play these games. And I'll show my kids these games when they get old enough. But for me to chase a never-ending game like Kingdom Hearts, it's fruitless. In all ends, it's just fruitless just chasing something like that. It's time I become content with what I have. I think, to me, that's what becoming a man and behaving a man does, is learning to be content where you are in life, with what you have. This year I'm trying something new with my gaming collection. I have some video games that are physical, and I have some that are digital, and I'm moderating my budget. The digital ones are ones that I like playing, but if I lose them in the server for whatever reason, that's one of the arguments against digital games, and I can see that, sort of, but it's going away. If that should happen, it's not going to be any skin off my back if I lose them. But the physical games, those are the ones that are my favorite games, that I want to hold on to, if I can. Naturally, I can't take it with me, and even that realization is, mature, and it's an adult mindset to have. But there comes a time in your life when, you have to just reminisce and tell your children and generations what you did when they were their age. And in a way, you can communicate with what games you had. It strikes a conversation. What was popular in the 90s? Well, in the 90s, vampires were always popular. I'm talking about true vampires, not sparkly fairies with a blood fetish. That's another video topic. But things like this, without microtransactions, things like this is why a lot of people cling to the past and cling to nostalgia. And again, there's a time and a place for everything. You can get things like this, but for me, I draw the line at adding more games to this. I'm not going to be there hacking my NES or SNES, getting pirated ROMs just to complete my SNES library. At the end of the day, I don't have time to play all that. The 21 games is more than enough games that I'll ever have a time in a lifetime to play. I mean, when I was a kid and having my SNES, I didn't have more than 10 games at any given time. Granted, I traded games around a lot, but my library generally was 10 games or less at any given time. And playing 21 of them here, especially Star Fox 2, which literally, if you want to get down to brass tacks, with the price of inflation, or with how inflation is, and the fact that that game was never released, you paid pretty much for Star Fox 2. The rest of it's all pretty much included to sweeten the pot, to make the purchase more reasonable. But this is more than enough games that I will ever have enjoyment to play, and I'm okay with that. Just like I'm okay with not getting Kingdom Hearts 3. You know, with what I'm saying, it takes a lot of understanding, and you know, just to have the fortitude to be willing to do that. I'll show you real quick. My Switch here. Let me show you how games have changed. That's a good topic to add here. Sorry, this is this is one of the boring parts of the video. I'll do something real quick. And I can show you how Simon has changed. It's, again, the footage might not be great, but it is what it is. And this is going to be in handheld mode, and I'll show that, and you might be able to see it better. Hey. All right. Anyways, I'm trying to show you something. I was informed of an update, and I'm not updating it yet, but just let me know that update 2.0 is now live. So I'm sure it'll kick me out eventually and force an update. Anyways, I'm just going to show you something real quick. And let's go Smash. Tournament. Let's do Bones Castle. And let's change to Bayonetta's Castle. Why not? Find it. See him. And yeah, let's see. Bayonetta's Castle. Just to show you the quirks of this. But I'm going to show you how Simon looks now. There's Simon. If you can see him, I'm being attacked right now. But he's changed. He's changed a lot. And it's really good to see how much he's changed. And it's really a wonderful, feeling to know that your favorite character is immortalized in another favorite cult classic game or franchise at this point. But I'm not going to chase every last Smash Ultimate. Really, the only reason I got Smash Ultimate is because I knew that Simon is going to be in it, and it's worth getting just for Simon. And all these things are fun, and I know I'm not going to get every last game that comes out. It's fun to get them while you can, but eventually I like to think that perhaps this will be the last big year that I get really big games. But I'm not going to spend my whole life chasing after nostalgia. I like playing these games, but I definitely draw the line at Kingdom Hearts because even the wikis don't have how many games there are right. I would tend to believe 12 or 13. I count the app as a game. I know most journalists and reviewers don't view it that way, but I'm sorry, guys. It really is. And it's turning into, where did that character come from? Why do I care that character's there? What does this character have to do with anything? What's so awesome about that character in this storyline? I mean, yeah, you added a lot of characters with The World Ends With You in one of the games, but it's like, yeah, it's got a good following, don't get me wrong. But apart from that game, those characters are not in a Final Fantasy universe or a Disney universe, which is the whole entire point of Kingdom Hearts to me. Or either adding some of the characters from the app that aren't really from Final Fantasy or Disney. And so, what's the point? I bring these up because Square Enix has lost the sight of how to correctly, effectively write a story. They think by adding another 1,000 games to something is going to add to the story. No, it just makes the story a big mess that you have to fish through with dictionaries and encyclopedias. I mean, I'm in the process of writing my book. And yes, in writing my book multiple times, I've realized that I'm starting to do the same thing. I'm adding a lot of stuff to where I can probably add a whole new story. I have a few ideas to add, and I don't know how to properly do that because I'm running the risk of making my story convoluted. So I have to edit my own stories and figure out how to do that. And anymore, it seems like game developers just want a quick buck. And so they make a free-to-play, or some like to call it fee-to-pay, which basically, yeah, you can play the game, but to really go far in the game, you have to make, paywalls and DLC purchases and microtransactions. And it's like, why do I need to do that if the game is good enough to do that? I mean, granted, and that's the trick of patience. NBA Playgrounds 2, yes, it does have a paywall. But you don't need to pay for the characters. You can essentially get all of those characters just by playing the game a few thousand times. NBA Jam, that's what you did. You if you wanted the roster, if you wanted Michael Jordan, I know some games, some versions of that didn't have Michael Jordan. There's a few excuse me. He was a baseball player for a few years, so he wasn't necessarily on the basketball rosters for a time. Now he's retired and owns. He's like a manager for the Bulls or something like that, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm not going to say what's what. My point is, you don't need to make those microtransactions. So to villainize it for having that, yeah, it's there. But if you're patient and smart with your money, and you can get those characters by waiting. I mean, one of my favorite characters is already there, Pistol Pete, and I'm sure Muggsy Bogues is in there if you were patient and you were to find him just by playing the game. Every team you play in that game, you can earn a legendary or epic all-star player. That's the point of those games, is to do that. But when you, just, it's got microtransactions and this and this and this and this. Like, yeah, but it's not as bad as Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Battlefront 2. I'm talking about the newer ones, and I'm looking at you, EA, and no one will forgive you for adding microtransactions to their favorite games. And honestly, because of your backstabbery, skullduggery, I really do hope you go bankrupt. Because you obviously lost sight of what it means to be a game developer a long time ago. You think that by owning the great game developing companies, that you're great. No, you're just the Borg. That's what you are. Same with Disney. Disney, you're on the chopping block too. Just because you hold Star Wars and Marvel hostage, one of my two favorite franchises, I'm not supporting you, Disney. I'm sorry. You broke my trust. You drew a line in the sand, especially with Mary Poppins 2 and your lawsuit against Redbox. So I'm sorry. I don't support Disney anymore. But Anthony and I are, he's having his channel. His channel is more or less associated with his channel, but not directly. He's fully in charge of his part of it. He's doing his own thing, and we're gonna be separate for 7 months. I know he's made an apology, and Anthony, I do accept your apology. What we've said over the past couple of days, I still mean, and I'm not turning my back on you. I'm here for you. But, honestly, that's all I'm going to bring up with that. But my point in bringing these games up and playing them, it's an honor. I like to play video games more or less, like I said, for my PTSD, but also I want to bring them to a ministry, and I think by talking about them in with everyday life, and like I said, with why I'm not getting Kingdom Hearts, and why I wish Square Enix would get its act together. I mean, 15 some odd games for a franchise is one too many if you haven't really altered the gameplay tremendously. Yeah, each new game there's a new thing, of course. With Kingdom Hearts 2, you can dual wield. Kingdom Hearts 3, they have this system where you can change your Keyblade into a new weapon of sorts, or chain of weapons. And I have no doubt in my mind that the gameplay will be tremendous and awesome and wonderful and worth playing. But at the same time, it's, you know, not worth the time or effort to be reacquainted with the characters for the bazillionth time. It's just, there's a meme now of this, but ain't nobody got time for that. You know, it's, I don't have time to play the same thing. And if you've watched Jim Sterling's video, then you I sort of share his sentiment. It's really gotten to the ludicrous levels with Squeenix in Kingdom Hearts. That is my video. I apologize for the lighting and the capture and the song in the background. I'm not a good editing person. I'm just starting my channel out. I'm trying to keep going, and I hope you guys stick around and watch me grow. I'm trying to figure out how to continue making YouTube my ministry. Talk to you guys later. Bye.